Hey everybody! So, the Switch 2 is now a year old. Or at least it will be a day after I publish this video. Maybe you're watching it on the day after, whatever. Before I get into that topic, something else I just want to say that I know nobody's going to listen, but I'm throwing it out there anyway, because it kind of ties into the video, for one thing, but just in general anyway. We, as a society, need to stop brushing off criticism. With, like, for example, let's say, I don't know, a new 3D platformer game comes out, and it gets, like, moderate to positive reviews, but then somebody says, gives it a review, more of a negative review, saying, the controls are clunky, it makes it a little hard to move around, the story is kind of bland and hard to follow, the music is good, but it doesn't really fit the atmosphere of the game, feels a little out of place, blah, 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 blah. And then people are like, you're just overreacting, you're just a hater. It's like, did you even hear what the person said, or read what they said, whatever? It's like, but anyway, so, the Switch 2. Now, first off, when the Switch 2 was first announced, I thought it was going to be another Wii U situation, and I was wrong. It's already out. It outsold the Wii U in less than a year, actually. So, I was wrong about that, but, that being said, things have kind of slowed down a bit. The Switch 2 sold really well in the beginning, but sales have kind of slowed down a bit, it seems. And I don't think the Switch 2 will fail, but I do think it has kind of a bumpy road ahead, which is kind of what I want to talk about with this video. Now, and because one of the most common arguments I've seen people was like, oh, you're just too poor to afford one. It's like, or maybe they just don't want one. I haven't gotten hit by anybody, people saying that yet. I can easily afford a Switch 2. I have a Walmart right down the street from here. I could literally go in there and get one. I just don't want it. I have no interest in the system. And for me personally, it's just that there's nothing really. Well, for one thing, it just, it almost feels like, how when somebody who upgrades their phone every year, and it's just even though their phone they have right now works just fine. That's the thing. My Switch 1 works just fine, and plus a lot of the games for it, there's just nothing really grabbing my attention. For one thing, it's what the hell do you call it? The only ones that really caught my attention are Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders 2, and the new final, I'm trying to blank on the name, which that's not even out yet. And here the Switch is a year old, so the Switch 2 is a year old. So it's that's just not enough for me to convince me to bet the system. Plus there's other reason, but that's beside the point. And I think that's part of the reason why sales have slowed down. But, well, there's a few reasons. For one, which, first off, I'm not going to get into any political things or anything like that, because I fucking hate politics with a passion. That's absolutely the last thing I would talk about on this channel. But, for one thing, is pricing. Now, which some people, I think it varies. Personally, I think the price of the console is fair. Other people may feel differently, which is understandable. But, so that's the thing. Some people may not be able to afford one. There's people who, it's not because they're poor. It's just because, you have people who are working, 2 jobs. And maybe they have, a roommate or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and then who also works 2 jobs, and yet they still struggle. So how you expect them to buy it? You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And which is the second thing, the price of the games, 70, which was another reason I'm I'm all set. And I think it's the same way for a lot of people, is the $70, $80 price range for some of the games, which there's been talk going around that the price of the games might be going down, but again, that's not really 100% confirmed or anything. I don't think it's just right now it's kind of just people talking about it. And I know people like to bring up how back in the 90s there were Genesis, Super Nintendo, N64 games that were $70, which is true. I grew up in the 90s, and I do remember a lot of those games being pretty expensive. However, when I hear people say that, it's let me ask you something. How much did groceries cost back then? How much did gas cost back then? How much did rent and mortgages cost back then? How much did a basic t-shirt and pair of pants cost back then? So yes, games may have been expensive back then, but the cost of living was not, or at least not like it was now. Another thing is, and well, going back to sticking with the games, because like I gave the list of games that I have interest in, but the thing of it is, I feel like there's not. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like there's not a lot of games that really would entice people to get a Switch to. Like, I mentioned the games that caught my attention, but it's like, I mean, well, Mario Kart World Tour kind of got, like, mixed to positive reviews, and that was a launch title, so it doesn't really count. The only games that I could really see people going like, oh, I need a Switch to are Donkey Kong Bonanza and Pokemon Pokopia, which, that game's not really my cup of tea, but, you know, Pokemon is popular, and people love those type of games. Maybe the new Yoshi that just came out, but it's like, other than that, it feels like there's not really anything. I mean, think about it. It feels like there's something missing. Where's the new Legend of Zelda? Where's the new 3D Mario? You know, I mean, spin-offs and ports don't count. Because you think about when the original Switch launched, it launched with, what the hell do you call it? Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that was a massive, massive game, which sure it came out on the Wii U as well, but hardly anyone bought the Wii U. Then, you know, like, a month or so later, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out, which, you know, Mario Kart being very popular. And again, a port, but not, like I said, nobody bought the Wii U. Well, hardly anyone did. You know, the Switch outsold the Wii U in less than a year, and within the same year of, within the first year of the Switch's lifespan, the Switch 1 that is, we also had Super Mario Odyssey, what the hell do you call it, Splatoon 2, and a few other games, but, you know, those were like, I mean, those were the ones that are like the big sellers, you know, like 3D Mario, New Legend of Zelda, which, again, was also on the Wii U, but that's beside the point. You know, and there was a sequel to Splatoon, there was like a good number of games, and, you know, you know, of course there was ports as well, but, and then, around the time of the system's 1-year anniversary, we had some new games coming out, and we heard the announcement for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You know, obviously that's a console mover. But Switch 2, it's like, it doesn't really seem like there's any must-have titles. And it's not just my opinion, it's just, like, I know it sells. Like, you know, I know Zelda sells, I know Mario sells, and another one is Animal Crossing. Like, not really my thing, but that game is immensely popular, or that franchise, I should say, and we haven't heard anything about a new Animal Crossing yet. And another one is Pokemon. We have Pokemon Wind and Waves, but that's not coming out till 2027. And keep in mind, Pokemon mainline games usually launch in the fall, so we're talking like maybe a year and a half before we see a new Pokemon game, and obviously that's going to move Switch 2 units because Pokemon games, mainline games, always sell Switch 2 units, but like I said, that could be another year and a half from now. It's like, what else is there? And the new Star Fox, which I already made a YouTube short on that, how I feel on that game, but the thing of it is, as much as I love Star Fox, those games don't move units. Back in the 90s, maybe, you know, the original Super Nintendo, and then, you know, Star Fox 64 and the N64. Back then, sure, but nowadays, I don't know, I just don't see that happening. Another thing is, well, the whole game keycard thing, you know, which, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. And it's funny, I see people say, like, you might as well just buy digital, like, what's the point of this thing, like, you know, and that's the thing. I almost feel like they're trying to push digital onto people, like I said, because people are saying, like, oh, you might as well just get digital. What's the point of buying the game key card thing? It's like, defeats the purpose. And the thing of it is, as much as I love physical media, I mean, I prefer physical media, but I don't mind digital either. I've kind of adjusted to it more. But it's like, the thing of it is, you can't force something onto people or force them to change, like, their ways. Like, for example, one of my favorite games of all time is Vandal Hearts, which is highly underrated. Let's say, hypothetically, this game was getting an HD remaster, or just, like, updated graphics and everything, not just high definition, but naturally I'd want to see more people experience the game. So there's two ways I could go about it. I could either go around shoving this in people's face, like, this game is being remastered, you have to buy it. Or, if I'm hanging out with some friends or colleagues or whatever, we're talking about video games, and I could say, hey, one of my favorite games of all time, Vandal Hearts, is being remastered, and then I could talk about the story and the gameplay and stuff, and maybe it'll pique their interest. See what I'm saying? Like, the difference there of, like, you know, trying to force something onto someone opposed to just casually going about it. Like, but so, that was another thing, was the game key card. What was I going to say? Another thing is that the Switch has, well, more competition now. Like, you know, when the Switch first came out, it's not the first hybrid console, to my knowledge, but it was the first one to make such an impact. You could play a lot of, like, games like, I don't know, Elden Ring, I believe is, no, Elder Scrolls, I think? I always get those mixed up, but it's like you could play games like that on the go, like, or at least like this, not like, I mean, like this, you know what I mean? Not like on a laptop, that's a little bit different, but, because, you know, a laptop, you're playing more like this, and then, you know, it might overheat in your, unless you have, like, a case or whatever, like, but a cooling fan, you know what I mean? The thing, you know, so the Switch was like the first one that you could, but it's like now there's other devices like the Steam Deck, which I know that's getting a price increase, so that's probably not the best answer. I mean, I that's probably not, but I mean, well, the Steam Deck, which like I said is getting a price machine. I think there's also the, what's it called, the LGX One Ally, something like that. You know, there's the Xbox One, which, granted, some of these are more expensive, but you know, they're more powerful systems, like, which is kind of the reason they're more expensive. And that's the thing with the Switch, too. It doesn't even feel like a next-gen system. It just feels like a Switch Pro, you know what I mean? And it's funny, because, like, for people who, I mean, I honestly, when it comes to, like, the whole 60 FPS versus 30 FPS, I can see the difference, but it's like, I honestly just don't really care that much. I understand why people do. I do, but personally, I'm just like, it doesn't really bother me that much. And that's the thing, which is why I could see why people wanted, like, a more powerful Switch. Not to mention, it makes it easier for developers to program games for it without having to, like, water them down, like, Mortal Kombat 1, for example. Which, I did not buy that, I'm just saying. But that's just a perfectly good example. So it's like, you know, if somebody wants to, you know, really needs to play these games at more higher resolution, frame rates and everything, it's like if you have to play, I don't know, what the hell do you call it, Legend of Zelda, the Tears of the Kingdom, sorry, brain fat. You know, like, if you have to play that game at, like, 60 FPS and, like, 4K and all that stuff, it's like, oh, now you can with the Switch too, but it's like, even though, I mean, obviously there's, like, emulators and stuff, but, you know, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, see, people wanted this years ago. You know, you think about, like, there was the PS4, and then 2 years later, there was the PS4 Pro, and, you know, Xbox did kind of the same thing, but the Switch, it's like, people kept saying, like, we need a more powerful Switch, we need a more powerful Switch, and then Nintendo was like, okay, here's the, Switch Lite, it's the Switch without the deck, and it's like, okay, that's cool and all, but how about a more powerful Switch, like a Switch Pro type of thing? Oh, okay, you know, a year later, oh, okay, here's the Switch OLED, more storage, bigger screen, and a bigger kickstand. Like, so, they finally come out with the Switch 2, or Switch Pro, like, literally 7-8 years later. It's like, and it's like, it's not that people have moved on, but it's like, they wanted that years ago, now they have other devices they can do it on, like, you know, I mentioned the Steam Deck, the RTX Ally, I think is what it's called, the Xbox, just a bunch of other ones, but your point being, Leo. So, like I said, I think the Switch 2 will do moderately well. Like, you know, I've seen people say, like, it won't do Switch 1 numbers, but it'll be like the DS and 3DS. Like, DDS sold extremely well, and then 3DS was like, I don't know, sold like a quarter of what the DS did. I could see that happen with the Switch 2, so we'll just have to wait and see, but yeah, so anyway, guys, I guess happy 1 year anniversary if you have a Switch 2 and you love it. Congratulations, 1 year anniversary. happy 1 year anniversary. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.